Hey, book besties. Welcome to More Than a Book Club podcast. I'm your host, Leyna.
And I'm your other host, LJ.
And we had so much fun last night. We went to see Jennifer Weiner. She was at the Dallas Museum of Art. We had a blast. It was crazy. LJ had me, in my mind, committing felonies by putting bookmarks in books. We were seriously at the Dallas Museum of Art and then later at Walmart. You can watch our Instagram for all of the shenanigans, but we were putting them in as people were, as they were bringing them out at Jennifer Weiner's event. So I was sure that we were going to walk out and they were going to arrest us. I was like, I'm going to get banned from the DMA.
Well, and I'm like, no, because we weren't doing anything. The worst, they'd be like, take your bookmarks and get out of here. Like, we weren't vandalizing anything. We weren't stealing anything. We were giving free things. But I understand. It's weird to do it. And we kept almost getting caught at the DMA. And later at Walmart, I don't think the Walmart employees care enough.
They weren't really paying attention, but it was later at night because it was after the event. So it was like 9 o'clock whenever we were there.
Yeah.
And they were doing stock stuff. Like they were putting out new merchandise and different things. And so they were trying to talk to their employees and we were trying to covertly stuff bookmarks and books. And someone yelled out like, Scott. And they walked right past us as we did it. And we both were like, oh my gosh, we just got busted.
But we didn't. We were fine. And we managed to get around 40 bookmarks into various books. So if you're in the McKinney area and want to go by the Walmart, basically at 380 and Custer, there's 40 books with our bookmarks.
Or 1721 North Custer Road, if you want to be specific.
Why do you know that address, Leyna?
It's my Walmart, and that's where we do our prescriptions at. And LJ was like, you don't just tell them the crossroads? And so I have to clarify, there are 2 Walmarts on Custer. So there's one down by 121 and one by 380. And all the doctor's offices get confused.
Is there a Walmart down there? I know there's a Target. Or is it
there's across the street from...
Yeah, I remember.
We're mapping it out for y'all that don't live here.
We have not hit that one yet.
No.
So will have to.
I will say, I thought I knew where the books were. And we started walking over there and I was like, it's my Walmart. I know where things are. I did not. I was totally wrong.
Yeah, she had no idea. My guess was right.
Which that is kind of on par for me, not knowing where I'm going.
It's fine. And you even said, you don't ever buy books from Walmart. And I don't either. But I have a boyfriend who loves to look at, fishing gear. Every time we go to Walmart, we must go peruse that. And so I'm like, I'm just going to walk over to school supplies and then across there to books. Because our school supplies, when it's not July, our school supplies are right across from there. So I'm like, I'll be over there if you need me. And so I will go.
You know where they are. You know where all the books are.
I know where they are in my Walmart. And they were in a similar spot in yours. But the rest was all arranged differently than mine. So.
Yeah, we had a good time doing that. And then a good time at the event.
Yes.
We were supposed to have Claire Sanama.
Look at you. You almost said it wrong, but you caught yourself.
I caught myself on tonight for our podcast or for today. But she unfortunately wasn't feeling so good and her throat wasn't feeling great. So she didn't think her voice would be ready for podcasting. So she's going to join us later. We've rescheduled that. Mm-hmm. It is going to happen still. I'm very excited to have her come on. It just gives me more time to listen to more of her podcast, Final Days on Earth. Because I have been catching up on the different seasons of that and more time to watch more of her 48 Hours episodes because she was a field producer for those. So if you are like me and want to dip your toe into true crime, there's some ideas for you. You can read Claire Sanama's book,
there you go,
A Killer Story, or watch her 48 Hours episodes, or listen to her podcast, Final Days on Earth. There's lots of different ways to connect with her.
Yes, and I will show y'all real quick because this is a feature that Leyna did not know how to find, and it is tricky to find on IMDb. I don't think it's it's not user-friendly on this piece. So if you go on to IMDb and you search, which she'll be my most recent search. I don't know, someone else was. But you look her up, Claire. It's spelled like Saint Amant, but it's Sanama. If you go there and you go to click on filmography, see all, and so you're like right here. Well, next to any show, there's these three dots. So if you click on the three dots, there's an option that says see 21 episodes. So you can see those episodes that she was the field producer on, and it has it by season. You can get the description, and then you can go on Paramount Plus and watch them. So they're all on there. And some of them are talked about in the book, and the podcast episodes, the seasons are mentioned. Those cases are also mentioned in the book.
Yeah, so it was a nice tie-in. I really liked now going back and listening to those things and seeing what she's been talking about in the book. So that's really fun.
So yeah.
But yeah, so we're going to have her on hopefully next week. We're moving things around. We're moving and shaking. That's what happens sometimes whenever you're podcasting. Things come up, things change.
Yes.
But we will still have her on here, and we will have it either as a bonus episode or as next week's episode, because we had planned for next week to do Sunrise on the Reaping.
Yes.
And then LJ and I were talking, and we actually had a great conversation. And we're like, we should just talk about this on the podcast. Because sometimes we have been, I mean, especially now, we're reading books for the podcast, but then also have our own interest in books. And then we have book club books and different things.
Yes.
And it's kind of like this pressure. And I was like, I bet other people have this too. How many people have a book club, or maybe you're part of Book of the Month and you want to actually read every month the book, or you're just set a goal for yourself and you're trying to stick to, like, I need to read 5 books every month, and you're trying to push through, and it's that pressure putting on reading. And so I wanted to talk about, how does that affect you? So LJ, how does that affect you?
Okay, so if we were talking a couple of years ago, I would say that it would be different. I was reading a ridiculous amount of books. So 2 years ago in 2023, I did not read over 200 books, but I had read a lot by this point in the year. And then like 2022 and 2021, I read like both of those years over 200. And so I would say it wouldn't be so hard then, because I'd be like, well, if I put off book club, I'll just read the book in a day or in 2 days, and this is no big deal. Well, where my life's at right now, that is not the case. I'm occasionally, like I read a Frida McFadden recently. Okay, I can do that in 1 or 2 sittings. They're fast, they're short. Same thing a little bit with Geneva Rose. So I can do that and it's not a big deal. But when we're reading specifically for book club or the podcast, I'm wanting to pay closer attention so that I know what I want to talk about and I don't forget. So it makes it kind of stressful. Like I kind of understand where people are like, oh, sometimes when you do something you love, if you make it into a job, then it becomes work. Although this is not a job. We're not making any money, you guys, so don't worry. Although you can buy us a coffee. We'll post that, or
we'll post that on Instagram, and we'll put that in our show notes. You can buy us a coffee, buy us a book, help us read.
But really the most important thing you can do is go ahead and subscribe, rate our podcast on different platforms, because all of that helps us. The more we get, then the more capabilities are open to us, more features.
And then maybe we have.
Yeah, and more clout we have. So I think that would be the best thing for us. But you can also buy us some coffee or a book or, something. But I would say, yeah, it is kind of hard to keep up. Like this month, I am not ready. So when we found out today that we were going to need to reschedule, we weren't really prepared to reschedule for our current episodes that we're working on. Because like Leyna said, next week we are supposed to talk about Sunrise on the Reaping. Well, I am not done with that. I'm not even halfway
even gotten
through
it.
Like
my library hold hasn't come up.
No, and so that leaves us unable to do that one. Then the week after that, we have another awesome author, Rebecca Wolf, coming on. And I haven't read that book either so I need to do that.
I'm 40% done with that one, and it's really good. Like so I think you'll read it really fast, because honestly, right now I want to go back and read that one. Like I'm like, I want to go read because it had my interest so much.
Well, see, I had started it, like I read maybe the first 2 chapters or started the first chapter and then or something. And I wanted to keep reading. And then I realized, wait, you have other things you have to read first. And so I'm so excited to do that. So I need to get on this Sunrise on the Reaping, but I also have other books I want to read. I'm still in the middle of Anna Karenina. And if you recall last week, I said I started Schindler's List because I was going to try to finish it before the episode. So I'm in the middle of all these books.
That is a heavy book to read like in a day or two. I don't know if you can.
Oh yeah, no. And I am in the middle of another Geneva Rose. I started You Shouldn't Have Come Here. So yeah. Yeah, I would say for me right now, it's hard to keep up with it all because I'm not reading as much. Oh my goodness, I'm sorry, this cat. Luigi wants to be a part of the podcast or he just wants to be in my lap. Probably a little bit of both. But I am in the middle of the Geneva Rose. You Shouldn't Have Come Here. And that's when like, okay, maybe Saturday night after work, I'll sit down and just finish that if my boyfriend's working. So in the meantime though, I'm like, you got to focus and do Sunrise on the Reaping. But how are you handling all this, Leyna?
It's been a little stressful. I won't lie. So this is a new thing for me where not only am I having to read by a certain day, but I have set a goal to read more physical copies this year. And I'm going to surpass that because a lot of the books that we have are physical copies.
Yes.
So I'm signed up to do the inaugural event for Ink and Aura. And that's on April 14th. And they're reading, that is the thing. We had Chris on.
Yeah, I was going to say, shout out to Chris. Shout out to Chris. Chris Weller, who's awesome. I am not in this because I'm not writing a book.
My goal is to continue to work on my book because it is for authors. If you're an author, they have a Instagram page, I think a website as well for Ink and Aura. I'll throw it in the show notes. But for their first event, reading Every Beautiful Mile. So their focus is reading books from authors who have less than 5 books written. So they're starting with Every Beautiful Mile. They were looking for some cozy mysteries for May. But yeah, I have to have that finished by April 14th, which is next week. I was like, this next Monday.
Oh my gosh, are we going to be able to record on Monday?
We're going to be able to record. That event is from 6 to 7, and I had asked Claire Sandomal to do 7:30. So I can do both. Okay. We are multitaskers here.
Oh my gosh, I know. Well, like this month, it's just so much. Like Leyna, you've got all of that because you've got multiple book clubs, plus our authors, plus books you want to read. And then, yeah, same thing. And it's just... I don't know. What are we doing? Leyna?
What are we doing? The book that we're reading for my book club that I'm cheating on you with, it's Ultramarine.
Ooh, that's a cool cover.
It's a little thin book. It's published by Deep Vellum Printing. So it is here in Dallas.
Oh, yeah, the local one that we talked about.
It's in Deep Vellum. So I'm really excited to read it. It's just another physical copy.
Yes. Have you not started it?
No, that one's not till April 29th. So I have plenty of time.
Okay, I was like, oh my gosh, Leyna, like, no, Monday is Ink and Aura.
Monday's Ink and Aura. And then maybe Wednesday, Sunrise on the Reaping, but that'll be an audiobook for me. And it should come from the library within the next day or two. I'm not worried about that. And then Alive and Beating by Rebecca Wolf. I'm 40% done with that. That is also, I have it on my Kindle. So I can take that with me places, I guess.
Yes, you can.
One of the other things that has been stressing me out with setting these goals was since I had the seizure, I am not driving places. I'm not sitting in carpool line. I'm riding with other people. And it's kind of rude to be like, okay, we're going to listen to my audiobook. Or if I'm like my bosses have been driving me to work, I don't want to listen to something hot and heavy. So I'm like, okay, I got to reel it in and, figure out when I'm going to read different things. So that's also been a little bit of a challenge is, life events coming up. I was at my kids' robotics competition And I brought my Kindle, I brought my headphones, I was listening to audiobooks. And of course, library holds all come up at the same time.
Of course they
Whenever
do.
you're like in the middle of reading, it's like all your library books will come up at the same
Always.
time. Always. So then I have those, and the Houston library only gives you 2 weeks. So then it's like, I really have to get this done. And I honestly didn't set any big goals for myself for reading this year. Like I need to have this many books read or anything like that. It was just like, I just want to read 10 physical copies.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I'm close to that.
That's so funny.
Which is pretty funny. Just because of our podcast, which is wild. So, but I am set to, like, I've been reading 10 to 12 books every month.
That's
so I'm
awesome.
set to hit over the 100 book goal, I guess, again, which last year felt insurmountable. And now I'm like, okay, I'm doing it again, apparently, without trying. So that's new. But
it's like once you hit 100, you pretty much always will. I don't know. But I will say, yeah, because you've read more books than I have, I think. And I think I did.
Might have changed by now. Like,
I don't know, because I
had
did
spring break.
I mean, I guess, but I don't feel like I finished as many as I thought I was going to finish over spring break. I don't know what my number
I'm
is
at
right
34 right now.
Let me see. I think you're still ahead of me, but I will double check my list.
If that is the case, I am blown away because LJ is a super reader.
Well, thank you. I have to tell you a funny story though, that because you're talking about like in the car with other people, not feeling like you should be listening to your audiobooks. I've read 33, by the way, so you are one ahead of me. So my mom, for years, like as an adult, if I get in her car and we're driving somewhere, she'd just turn on her audiobook and I'd be like, Mom, can we put on something else or just turn it off? And she would almost get offended. Claudia would almost get offended that I didn't want to listen to her audiobook that I was not in the middle of myself. And I get it if the kids are in the car and you're driving them around. Okay, who cares if you're listening to them? And same, like I do that in the car. Like if my child's not going to talk to me, I'm going to put something on, either a podcast or I'm going to put
usually as long as they have
audiobook.
headphones on. Because
I'm like, what you're reading.
One time I listened to American Gods and they have a scene that cutting off genitalia. And
yes,
my son listened to it and was like, what are you reading? And I was like, off.
Right.
So, don't want to have another experience with that. So I'm always like, if they have their headphones on with the noise canceling, then we're good.
Well, lately it's been Anne of Green Gables, so I'm like,
super sweet. Yeah.
It's super sweet. And then what's funny is because after our podcast posts, then I listen to it because Leyna gets to listen to it while she's editing. And so I want to hear the edited final copy. And as we get closer to my daughter's school, like we get in the carpool lane, she's like, can you turn it down? She doesn't want the people outside the car to hear it. And I get it. Like she does that even if I'm listening to a podcast, whatever I'm listening to, she's like, can you turn it down?
Well, okay. So I have heard other people's car conversations, like if we're stopped at a stoplight
on the phone
and they're on the phone. And all I can think about is while I'm sitting in carpool line, I'm listening to Onyx Storm or, any type of Allie Hazelwood book. And there's going to be sex scenes and it's coming. And that is just so embarrassing because all the sports kids get out like 10 to 15 minutes before the rest of the classes do.
Mm-hmm.
And they're walking right in front of my car. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so embarrassed. So I turn it down purposely. Myself, I turn it down. So I'm like, I don't want to. They're old enough to know what those words mean.
I know. No, I think that definitely makes sense. And I understand why my daughter wants me to. Like, I don't have a problem with it. That's fine. But yeah. So we should talk more about last night. I feel like we barely scratched the surface.
Oh, and we didn't mention one cool thing. You were talking about, IMDb, and we talked about Claire's podcast. And even for our podcast, I had no real idea you could do this. You can speed up a podcast. So if you're like, oh my gosh, these ladies talk too much, it's an hour. If you speed it up to 1.25, 1.5 times speed, you'll be done super quick. So then you can just listen to us all the time.
Which it's so funny. I can't believe you who listens to audiobooks all the time did not know this. By the way, By the way, you can also do it on YouTube. I've been doing that for years for any trainings, and even teaching Spanish literature for the first time last year. I found this girl, which I'm just going to shout her out, Karina Spanish. If you're a Spanish teacher and teach AP, you would love her. She has stuff for both levels of AP Spanish. And I would watch all of her YouTube videos, and I would speed those up because I'm like, I don't have time. I got to get ready to teach, and it was very helpful. But you can also, this is crazy, and I use this when watching Love is Blind or some reality show at the end that I just want it to go faster. Netflix and I believe all the other streaming services, you can speed it up on your iPad or on your phone.
That is wild.
Yes. So Love is Blind, they drag it out at the end.
That is my problem with reality TV. I have a couple of problems with reality TV, but one of them is that they drag everything out and have these huge pauses and these looks on their faces. So I think that if I sped it up, I might actually be willing to watch some.
Yep. So I speed up. I don't do that for my housewives and stuff, but for the shows like that, I like to speed them up. So I watch them on my iPad.
No idea you could do that.
Oh, yeah, it's great. I discovered it a couple years ago. But yeah, I listen to most things on at least 1.5, but it depends on the speaker.
Usually, but then 1.5, depending on the book. Usually I start out at 1.25, and once I get into the groove of the book, I speed it up. And if
that's
the book
how
really
I
sucks,
start.
it goes to 1.75. if I made it 80% of the way through, then I'm like, I just want this to be over. I speed it up.
Yeah.
So maybe there's some tips and tricks for how to get through more books. Speed it up.
It's true. So I start at 1.5 and go up from there. And when I'm dying for it to be the end or whatever, I can get up to 2.25, depending on the pace of the narrator.
Did they just sound like chipmunks at that point?
No, because it's kind of like you said, you get used to a level and then you slowly increase it. And since, especially on Audible, you can do such small increments at a time. I'll just do a couple. Okay, then we're going to do a couple more. And I'm able to do it.
I do remember getting in the car with my sister and my audiobook started, and she looked over at me and she's like, well, no wonder you have anxiety. But they talk too fast. That would give me anxiety too.
It's nope, they don't. They don't. I know.
This is normal speech.
But I do. I listen to most things on at least 1.5. But there we go. All right, let's go back to last night. Let's go start to finish. So, Leyna can't drive. So her
stupid seizure.
Her wonderful husband brought her to me at my school because I teach pretty far south from our houses. And so then we together got to go down into downtown by the Dallas Museum of Art. And we had an adventure of parking because Leyna knew where the parking lot was, but all these one-way roads
are one way. I hate it.
Yeah. And so to find the right spot, you got to go the right one-way street to the other one-way street to the two-way street to the one-way street. We got it though.
And I navigated that. I just want some credit because
you did. I
am not a navigator. And when we parked, I was like, yes, I did it.
She did. But when we got to the guy at the gate to the parking lot, the ticket guy, he was so funny because he looked at us. He's like, what are y'all here for? And we're like, oh, the book event. And he's like, okay. But we were 2 hours early. So
we weren't 2 hours early.
Okay.
Well, okay. We got there at 4:30 and it officially started at 7:30. You could go in at 6:30.
Right.
But we got there 3 hours before the event.
Not necessarily intentionally. We just knew traffic. We needed to park and we wanted food.
And someone that sat next to us ended up saying that one of the ways to get to downtown Dallas had closed. And I guess Vice President J.D. Vance had come into Dallas. And so they closed the tollway because she was like, we were the last car and there was no cars behind us. She was like, it was so eerie. So apparently that was a thing. We could have gotten stuck in that because then I bet all the traffic diverted to 75.
I know. And the thing is, when you get to downtown, they do get really close. But if they cut you off before that, it's a lot of 30-mile-per-hour smaller streets to get across to get to 75. And then you still have to get on Woodall Rogers, which I know this means nothing to people who don't live in the area, but something cool because we were like, okay, we're going to go get food. And thankfully, the Dallas Museum of Art is right by Clyde Warren Park, which if you're not native to Dallas, it's a park over, I don't even call it a freeway. It's like a connector freeway, kind of,
So they created this park over over the freeway, basically. So it
But
kind of
I'm
went
saying
in a
like,
tunnel, and
but like
they
what?
made a park there.
But like Woodall Rogers is only between 75, right?
In
And the
LBGA,
tollway,
in the
and the
tollway.
tollway. So I'm like, it's like the shortest little freeway thing. But yeah, so they, like Leyna said, they made this park and there's food trucks. And then what else restaurant do they have there?
They have Mi Casina, which is one of
Woohoo!
my favorites.
Me too. Me too. But I had to refrain from chips because as of the time of recording, I am recovering from a stomach ulcer. I am much better today, but I
We
was
just have all the
careful.
health problems.
We have all the health problems. I took a risk eating solid food, but I was like tortillas, soft. I could not
They're
eat the
mushy.
chips though. I was very jealous that Leyna could eat the chips. But it's okay. It's still delicious.
And it worked out.
It did. As were the
We
margarita
had
and mambo
some
taxi.
margaritas and mambo taxis, which again are my favorite. The whole time I was like, man, because my blood sugar kept dropping, and so they put me on a continuous glucose monitor, and they're watching my levels now. And they had
Yes.
said, eat a low carb diet. And I'm like, what does that even mean? Like, how many grams? What is that? But I was like, I can't pass up Mi Casina.
No. I mean, I had an ulcer and I was like, I can't pass it up
We are
either.
powering through.
We did. We powered through. And so that was fun. And if you were watching our stories this night, last night for us, basically
It would have been Tuesday
almost,
night.
yeah. So on that, now I lost my train of thought. What was I saying?
Well, we
Okay, now I remember.
talked about all of our shenanigans that
Shenanigan.
we were going to get up to.
And we told you guys that our full inception of this podcast started at a different Mikosina where we got cut off from the Mambo taxis.
Because we drank 4, and then she was like, I don't know if I can give you more. I have to go ask my manager. And so they went and asked the manager, and they said yes. And then we had 5, but we were cut off after that.
We were.
Which was fine. I mean, we had been there for hours, so it wasn't like we
Yeah.
were stumbling around or anything like that.
No,
we'd been there all day,
yeah.
which I thought was kind of funny. I'm like, you don't have like a time limit on?
Right. Like if we're drinking a drink an hour, that's not crazy.
Yeah. Anyway.
But whatever. It's fine. It's fine. But after that day, I can no longer drink Mambo Taxi. So I had the margarita while Leyna had the delicious Mambo Taxi. But it was fun to just kind of reminisce because I think we haven't been to Mikosina together since then.
Yeah.
And so it was fun to be out on like an adventure that would go with our podcast. Yeah. So
because we initially came up with the idea, the 5 Mambo Day, and then we kind of played around with it for a few months because that was in like May, I think. And then we talked about it and talked about it and talked about it. And then we finally went live with it in November. So we had several months where we kind of mused over the idea of what it was going to look like, what it was going to be. And I think it's still evolving. So it's kind of fun.
I think so too. Well, and I think initially it was supposed to be 4 of us, and that was a little bit hard because Leyna and I were very enthusiastic and they were a little more hesitant. And then scheduling it hasn't been working. But like we've said, they hope to get on more this summer. And we hope so too, because we love them. But in the meantime,
Allie and Emily will join us later. In the meantime, we get to have fun.
We do.
We did go to see Jennifer Weiner. We got in line. If you follow our Instagram account, you'll see the books. And I'm going to show it here. I have my copy.
Woo-hoo.
Jennifer Weiner book with the sprayed edges, which I'm a sucker for the sprayed edges.
I am too.
She did sign all of them. So she had signed them all beforehand. You can see her pretty penmanship. Afterwards, she was doing personalization, and we originally intended to stick around for that. But the line was really long and it was late. I was like, and we wanted to go do our bookmark fun.
Yes. Well, and so she spoke and she was so funny. She's delightful and she's funny. And then they had a Q&A, and every question that an audience member asked, she would talk for a very long time. So there really were not very many questions able to be asked because she was so thorough in her responses. And just seeing how personable she was, we had a feeling that this long line was going to last either a very long time or be cut off because of how we thought we could imagine that she's such a nice person. She would be chatty with everyone. So we determined that we would like to go put bookmarks in books at Walmart. So we did. And we got cookies on the way home.
Yeah, she gave everybody in the audience a cookie from Cookie Society.
Yep.
So that was really nice of her. So we got to enjoy that.
Yeah.
I ended up giving mine to my kids because we had a mishap with our Walmart delivery, and
No.
they had star testing today, which was their statewide
Oh,
testing
yes,
because they're
they
not from
did.
Texas. And my daughter was so upset that her preferred snacks did not get delivered. So I split the cookie between them and they could have that for their star testing.
Yeah,
Apparently, that's very important.
definitely. I ate my cookie for breakfast today and it was delicious. So you
Breakfast of
did miss
Champions,
out. I was real nervous. I was like, what if this flares up the
the ulcer.
and it didn't really like I had a little bit of discomfort, but it really hasn't been bad today. So I'm like, okay, we're over the hump. We're gonna
And I thought it was cool that she gave cookies because in 2020, COVID year, everybody was trying to sell Girl Scout cookies. And the Girl Scout cookies kind of it had to change because they couldn't go out in public. And, a lot of
Mhm.
places they do it in the spring. So some of the girls were missing out on being able to sell their
Yeah.
cookies. And then they use that money to go towards their troop, to do all kinds of different activities, camps, things like that. So she set up a thing where if you emailed her, she would buy cookies from your daughter.
So
And
sweet.
she ended up with so many cookies. And now she does it every year. She tries to get from every state. So she
That's
has
so
a little
cool.
tracker where she'll tell how many states she has left and specifically ask for certain states. So she buys states from every cookie. She donates cookies, which I think is just a really phenomenal thing that she's supporting other girls in their endeavors with that.
I love that.
And she's very funny, and her whole family is funny. So she has two daughters, and she talked about that last night with her
Mhm.
youngest. She's going on college tours, and I'm not ready for that.
See, I didn't have to do it. I didn't have to do it with my son because first he was going to go into the military and then he changed his mind and he wanted to work and, work on his golf game. And so I haven't I haven't done it yet. And then with my daughter, she's like saying places like University of Miami and I'm like, "Well, we're probably not going to do a college tour of that one, but nice try." We can go visit some Texas schools, maybe Oklahoma, maybe Louisiana. It's right there. I don't even want to go up to Tech. That's so far away,
Oh my
and that's
gosh.
in the
Yeah.
state. But we'll see. But yeah, I'm not looking forward to it either because I feel like how she was talking about her daughter. I feel like my daughter's also going to be so indecisive. Like, go visit. Oh, yeah, I like that one. Or she hears a presentation. Oh, I want to go to that one. And then it's like, oh, you want to live in Ohio? And then she'll be like, no, because that's what happened with Jennifer Weiner's daughter. And it's just all those things that, I'm not looking forward to that stuff.
I'm not either. And I have one kid who I think will probably stay local, might do community college, and
Hmm.
the other, so our community college has statewide programs.
Yes.
So there's 4-year programs through the state schools, but at the local level. And I think
Yes.
that's what he might do. I don't know if my daughter will do that or not. I'm probably gonna try to get them to do community college for the first 2 years,
Hmm.
personally, just because of the cost savings. I know
Yes.
what it was for us to come out the other side of college and have all these student loans. So I want to be able to not have them have that,
Oh,
ideally.
definitely. Ideally, I know, for
But I know
real.
how much is in their college savings account, so they need to use that wisely.
Yeah, I don't have a college savings account for either of my kids, but my ex-husband is retired military, so he does have the Hazelwood Act, which can either go to one child or be split. So, but it's state schools. So that we'll just have to see. Have to see how it plays out. Plus scholarships, but who knows? Who
We're still a
knows? But
few years out from that,
we
so we have
are.
time.
But
It
so
was funny. It
something,
was funny to hear her talk about it and
mhm.
just so relatable because
Yes.
I think we've all been there.
Yes, we have. If you're dealing with our age of children. One thing though that I just found out recently from my son is that our local community college does have a golf team as of this year. So
Nice.
that's something
So
he's
is he interested
considering
in now?
that he is interested in. He said he might wait a year because he wants to work a little bit harder because he's like, I don't want to really go if I can't get on the golf team. But I'm like, okay, that's a goal to work towards. we have like a goal that is not as long term. We have a more short term goal, and I approve of that.
Yeah,
But
good for
anyway,
him.
yeah, good for him. We shall see. But okay, so what else? We didn't do literary lately, Leyna. We
We failed.
forgot. We failed. So
So
what's
literary
going on?
lately, we went to a Jennifer Weiner event.
That's one thing. All right, what all books are you reading, and have you finished any in like the last
Oh
week?
gosh. So I just started reading The Every Beautiful Mile because I wanted
Okay.
to read that by Monday. So I'm 9% done. It's actually a really good book. So I'm
Okay.
enjoying it so far. It feels like something I would have picked to read on my own. So I'm excited
Okay.
about that. Still plugging along on Alive and Beating whenever I get the chance. I did finish Killer Story. I finished that while I was at
Woohoo.
the robotics tournament, so that was fun. I think I read Say You'll Remember Me in 2 days.
Wow.
So that was the new release of Abby
You did read it
Jimenez.
really
I
fast.
read it really fast. I was texting Emily, who had already read it, and asking her about certain things. So I'm like, is this going to happen? Because I don't want to read if this is going to happen. And Abby
Right.
Jimenez has such a great way of building characters, and you just love them. And they're having real life issues, and some of the issues don't all get resolved, which feels like real life. So
Yeah.
highly recommend that if you haven't read it. What else did I read? I think I had finished Catching Fire the last time we talked. I think so. If not,
I
I
think
finished Catching Fire.
you were almost
Okay.
finished. Okay.
Yes, I finished Catching Fire in the car on the way to Houston. So I finished Catching Fire, I finished Say You'll Remember Me and Killer Story, 3 books while I was at Houston, which I was pretty proud of.
I am very proud of
And
you.
then I started The Queens of Crime by
Ooh.
Marie Benedict, and that's the one where it's all of the 19 I want to say it's 1920s, 1930s. It's post World War One. The queens of the crime genre. So they're all banding together. Agatha Christie is a as a character in the story, and they're
Yeah.
solving a real life murder. So it's fun, it's interesting, it has some of the Agatha Christie type mystery to it, and
Yeah.
it's kind of fun. I'm about 40% of the way through that. I'm excited to see where it goes.
I can't wait to hear how you feel about it, because that does sound like something that I would love. So I
And
can't wait to hear.
I'm reading this and I had watched The Residents, which if you haven't watched, it's hilarious. It's so funny, but it is a murder mystery of who killed this one character, and it takes place in the White House. So there's a state dinner, they're at the White House, and it's all these people that are there. Jason Lee plays the president's brother-in-law, brother,
Interesting.
and he is just like the white trash version. They have him there at the White House to kind of keep a wrap on him. It's very funny. But there's several very funny characters. I really enjoyed it, but it's also Agatha Christie related. They even reference Agatha Christie several times, so
Yes.
it felt very. I think you would love it, and if you love Agatha Christie, you'll love it.
I need to watch it. I need to watch that for sure.
Yeah,
So very
yeah.
cool. I'm just impressed that you finished 3 books while you were at the robotics competition.
So it was they would play, and then they would have like an hour to 2 hour break. And then that
Uh-huh.
was the first day. So the first day I worked for some of it during the breaks, and then I read for some. And it's really loud in there because it's 2 different fields and it's just a lot of kids. So there are
Yeah.
so many teenagers. Our group has 80 kids on it. So
Wow.
it's huge. Like imagine 100 teams, 80 kids at Houston Convention Center. It's
Dang.
loud. There's other things going on there. And then in between, whenever they're playing, all the kids are just walking around. So even in the hallways, it's noisy. So that's noise
That
canceling
makes sense.
headphones was amazing. I loved it.
That is fun. That is fun. Yeah, that's
So
so cool.
it worked out. I was able to go back to the hotel room for a little bit and read. And then one day, the first day we were there, when I went and had lunch, I actually went to a place that was a little bit nicer. And then that was where I had the martini. I
Yes.
had a
The
dirty
very
martini. I
dirty.
asked for a dirty martini, and the bartender was like, "Okay, how dirty do you want it on a scale of 0 to Galveston?" Galveston Beach it's near Houston, and it's salty. And I was
Yes, it
like,
is.
"I want all the olives, like all the olive juice, give it to me." And he
Mm-hmm.
delivered. It was probably one of the best dirty martinis I've ever had. It was the Grove in Houston. If you're ever there, like a dirty martini, I would highly recommend it. But
Very cool.
I read my book there too. So I brought a book with
Mm-hmm.
me to lunch and read and had my martini and ate my lunch. So that was fun.
Yeah, that
But
does sound fun. It's funny. My cousin Leslie, who is, my real life person who is caught up on the podcast, she just was talking to me about the Grove, but in Austin, and saying like
ah,
how coming down to visit need to go
I
because
wonder if it's the same place.
it's gotta be, right? Don't you think? I mean, it's a
Hopefully.
unique name,
Hmm.
but she said the food was really good and that they have
Kind of
seasonal
pricey,
stuff. Yeah,
but
I think, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
I think that probably is, but Leslie, if you're listening, you can tell us, or I guess we could gratuitously Google and find
Mhm.
out. But yeah, I don't think I've finished anything since we last talked, but maybe let me check my Goodreads. Let me see if I go to my
You had
reading
already
challenge.
finished a killer story. You were
Yes, let me
ahead
see
of the
if I
game.
finish. Let me see if, okay, I do not like how they have changed this. Can I just see my books? Like they have kind of changed how they do this and I don't like it. Okay, so had I finished Home is Where the Bodies Are?
Yes, you had.
Okay. Had I finished The Scent Keeper or had I just mentioned it
Don't
maybe?
think
Or
so.
me
I don't even think you mentioned it.
Okay. Yeah, maybe I didn't.
I'm like, I don't
Maybe I
remember that
didn't.
one.
Okay, yes, because when did we record last week? It wasn't Wednesday.
It
Was it
was last
Tuesday?
Tuesday
Okay, so this is
because
what happened.
that's also what I did during Houston was I edited the podcast.
Yes.
So,
Okay, so here's what happened. Wednesday we weren't recording.
mhm.
I happened to see on Facebook in our neighborhood group about the book club that night, and I got it into my head like maybe I can get this book and read enough of it to go to book club. By the way, I didn't. Plus, I started it and it was so delightful that I did not want to risk spoilers anyway. But it's called The Scent Keeper by Erica Bauermeister. And I will say it's pretty good for most of it. There was a horrible animal death, like
That's
absolutely
the one that you were
unacceptable.
talking about. Okay.
Yes, horrible, unacceptable animal death. And despite that, I carried on. And as I'm getting closer to the ending, I'm actually considering giving 5 stars to a book with horrible animal death.
Which I know
And
you had texted our group chat that if there was an animal death, you automatically lowered it a star.
yep, that is true.
So saying that you were going to give it 5, that's one, I'm just proud that you pushed through and kept reading.
And so, but then we're nearing the end, and then it just ends abruptly.
Oh no.
So it went from potential 5 to 3.
Mm.
And I don't know if this is the author's first book. It came out in 2019. I didn't really do any research. But I will say, if you can get over horrible animal death and know that the ending is not going to be satisfying, the rest of the book was really good. I really loved the story. I'm so sad that it did not end well. And I don't mean it just was not that you have to wrap everything up, but it just was like, oh, we're just going to end there. Like I get her point for it, but I don't think she had enough evolution of a character for it to end right there. I think there needed more time. But here we are. So that is all I have finished. I am in the middle of still, like I said, Anna Karenina. I did technically start Alive and Beating and Schindler's List and Anne of the Island and Journey to the Cross, which is my Lent devotional. And I don't have it on here that I did start You Shouldn't Have Come Here by Geneva Rose. I guess I did not put it on here. So I don't know. Do I not have sunrise? I didn't even put sunrise on. Oh, wait, no, it says see all. It says see all, maybe. No,
Because you
I didn't
are
even,
you're like 40% done with Sunrise and the Reaping, right?
or like 30, but I didn't even, oopsies, I didn't even put it on there. But yes, I am.
So whenever
So,
LJ finishes all of her books, she will be way ahead of me on her.
but will I watch me
But
finish Anna
so
Karenina in like December? Like it will take me all year to finish
I have
it.
to say, I'm a competitive person. So knowing that I'm ahead of you, maybe that is
It'll
what's going to
drive
give me
you.
the gumption to keep reading and to get past, because that's never going to happen again. I feel like this
Ooh,
is a one-time event.
I love that, and I would love to be the one that pushes you to do that because I've already reached my insane reading goals in the
Mhm.
past. I don't have that motivation to compete, but I'm competing, Lena. You better stay ahead. There, I'll motivate you. I'll give you some drive, but know that I'm not trying to. But if you want to think I'm trying to catch up, you can think that, but
There you go.
I'm not. There would have been other times that I would have been motivated, but not right now. Anyway. All right. So should we say our goodbyes? This might be a shorter episode. What?
So it's going to be a shorter episode. I have to go. My son and daughter's team, and my husband's, I guess, too. He's a mentor. Their robotics team made it to Worlds. So
woohoo!
They did really well at state, and they earned enough points to go to Worlds. So we're going back to Houston next week. So that'll be another adventure. And we're going to be competing in Worlds. So that's exciting. But there is a team meeting tonight so that we can figure out all the hotel situation and when we have to be there and badges, because apparently there's badges to get in.
Ooh.
So I'm not even sure. It was one of those things where it's like, okay, there's badges to get in. Am I going to get a badge because I'm not a mentor or a student? So we're going to see how that all plays out, because if that doesn't happen, then I'm probably just going to stay home. So
makes sense.
We'll see. We'll see what happens. Anyway,
we'll see what happens.
It's going to be an exciting meeting for me and the kids, and an exciting time for them to go to Houston again, because we'll be back, and maybe I'll go to the Grove and just have a martini.
Yeah, I think that you should. You definitely have to. At least one time while you're down there.
It was literally the best. Tonight.
So next week, we're going to hopefully have Claire Sanema with Pillar's Story. And then we might also have Sunrise on the Reaping. It's a surprise. What happens?
It's going to be a surprise to us, too. So it's a surprise for you and for us. We're going to find out.
We are.
All together.
Okay. So
until next time.
Yes. Bye, guys. So thank you for listening to More Than a Book Club podcast. We are recorded and produced in McKinney, Texas.
Thank you for listening.
Thank you for listening.